Okay, so forget everything you thought you knew about Winnie the Pooh, because it's way darker than you think. We've got bullied children, we've got psychological trauma, and just a dash of semi-incest. So, you know, we're gonna have a fun time. Okay, so the new Christopher Robin movie drops pretty soon, and I thought it was a nice little cash grab. I thought it was a nice little nostalgic idea. But if we're being honest, I never really liked Winnie the Pooh. It was really just too happy. Like at that age, watching 16-year-old girls beat up grown men on Disney Channel was a little bit more my pace. It kind of still is.
That's really weird.
No, chill. All right, I was a cultured child. But now, as a 21-year-old man-child, I'm more than willing to try new things. So I dived into the show and did a little bit of research. See, through my research, I learned one thing. Well, actually, it was two things. Like, the first thing was that all the writers on the show didn't give a f. Yo, chill. Pumped him in the river. He's gonna kill you. You just dropped the boulder on him. But more importantly, what I really learned is that all the animals in Winnie the Pooh represent Christopher Robin's emotions. The real Christopher Robin. And the characters coming back in the movie represent an allegory for the real Christopher Robin dealing with his disdain and hatred for his childhood and his father, and his process of slowly coping with it. All right, now I know you might think this is a bit of a stretch, and yes, it sounds like it, but hear me out. First off, Christopher did not have an ideal childhood, contrary to what you would believe from reading the books and you know whatnot. But let's jump to like the 1920s-ish. Christopher Robin, the real one, finds himself in a bit of a weird situation. Young boy has been left alone with a man he barely knows for 2 weeks, with a paltry understanding of how that person feels about him. That person was his dad. See, years ago, his father, novelist, author, and poet, A.A. Milne, found himself in World War I in the Battle of Somme, one of the bloodiest wars in history. Shot and wounded, laying down on the ground. And like most people in that situation, he thought to himself, this. And he goes home to his wife, essentially shell-shocked, suffering from PTSD, confusing swarming bees with bullets and popping balloons with cannon fire. So they decide the solution to this is to have a kid.
Ooh, yikes.
Look, okay, you don't say yikes. Yikes is my thing.
What? Why not? Why can't it both be our things?
Baby, you just got on here. You don't get a thing yet, especially not yikes.
I'm gonna start saying yikes.
Oh my fuck. It was really yikes, especially since AA admitted he didn't necessarily like children, which makes no sense. Why are you having a kid then? And this led to him to struggle to connect with his son. But this wasn't parent exclusive. Christopher had issues with his mama as well. His parents kind of kept things at arm's length, which actually was pretty par for the course for England. Everybody was doing that shit. So it wasn't that they didn't love him or anything, but the connection just wasn't there, you know? Instead, his nanny Olive did most of the work. And in turn, Chris started to consider her as his real parent.
Yikes.
Yo, I swear to God. Anyways, the family moved away from the city because AA was struggling to cope, and they settled down for this little quaint rural area. And after being out there for a while, Chris's mom, missing her old life because she was like a terrible person, leaves for London for a while. And Olive pieces out too because her mother is dying. Like, this whole thing is dark, leaving Christopher alone with his emotionally distant and in poor mental health father. But what you would figure would be a terrible situation turns out to become a really good one for both of them, actually. See, for the first time during this period, they actually found a way to connect, and they did that by going out in the woods with Chris's stuffed animals. It sounds kind of weird on paper, okay? But it actually was a really great bonding moment for both of them. And there you go. That's how the books came to be, the end. But that's also where the theory holds water. All right, so think of it like this. Knowing that we have someone that has trouble conveying themselves and understanding their kid is pretty common to think that they found ways to compensate in doing so. People make up for their strengths, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes without them knowing. So what I'm saying is that both literally and subconsciously, AA started to connect with his kid when they go out together. He'd soon start to understand how he feels by writing about it instead of necessarily talking to him. And I think these feelings that he understood from speaking to his son became the characters in the books, and these characters' personalities became emulated as the emotions of his son. Like, I'm on some next level shit with this one, y'all. Come on. Because, I mean, inspiration has to come from somewhere, right? Like, I know I'm sounding crazy, but if you look at all the characters' personalities, it kind of starts to make sense. So Eeyore is the depression and sadness of Chris not being able to connect with his parents. All he had was his nanny, but obviously you want to know your fam, you know? Piglet is the anxiety of being emotionally alone. Again, for the same reasons. Tigger is the hyper curiosity and light troublemaker that all kids have, and that was especially on display when they went to the woods together. And Winnie the Pooh is the pure child within him, the simple joy. This would explain why he had such a strong connection with Winnie more than the other characters in the show and in real life. The truest representation of his childhood. And like I said earlier, the new movie ties in pretty cleanly with this. See, the basis of the film is that the characters are coming back when Christopher is an adult to help him overcome some personal problems. So by theory, this would mean his childhood emotions would be returning to him to overcome some personal demons, which again is pretty analogous to real life. See, after the book came out, Chris's life more or less fell apart. See, Chris became a celebrity without much say in the matter because of the books. He got pimped out by his parents, like to sign autographs and do fan letters and pictures, and the fame was a little too much for him. And I mean, come on, the kid was 10 or something like that, I don't know. This proved especially true when he would get bullied at school for being a child star. Like, he had to learn to box to defend himself from bullies. I mean, according to some articles I found, Chris even asked his dad to stop writing the books, and he didn't. After Chris left school, he stated that it seemed to me that my father had got to where he was by climbing upon my infant shoulders, that he had filched from me my good name and had left me with the empty fame of being his son. Oh, and that really ended up crippling their relationship to the point that he didn't even go see his father till he was on his deathbed. His mom didn't even want to see him when she was on hers. And speaking of being crippled, he ended up getting married to his cousin, and they had a kid with cerebral palsy. I wonder how that happened. But that's where the movie and the real life tale kind of come hand in hand. See, through time, the real Christopher Robin strived to become content with his past and Winnie the Pooh. He understood that he had to go back to a place he had forgotten or maybe wanted to forget to overall be happy and at peace with himself and his childhood. And in the film, he hasn't dealt with his childhood emotions / friends for years as well. And now the characters are coming back to life, where he learns to re-understand the things he got when he was a child. If that's not making any sense, like, think of it like this. If Chris's life was a story, a character has to go back to his roots and confront the emotions and memories of his childhood and past to overall become a better person. And what's the general plot of the movie? A character has to go back to his roots and confront his emotions and memories of his childhood and past to overall become a better person. You see what I'm doing there? You see what I did there? Now, yes, I understand the comparisons aren't one for one, but at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that the movie and Winnie the Pooh comes from an originally dark place. A kid who felt betrayed by his parents and emotionally distant to start, and them eventually benefiting off his childhood. But it doesn't mean it's not a redemption story. Oh, what's up, y'all? So first off, I want to thank you guys for watching. This is like a completely different video than what I usually do. Not completely different, but you know, slightly. It's a little bit more serious, a little bit more like to the point. So you know, it's different. You should let me know if you like it. But if you like this video, more importantly, you should check out my Why the Incredibles is Dark video. It's a very different vibe, but I'm talking like the same points on why a childhood show is kind of messed up. All right, so thanks for watching, and see you next time. Dear God, I'm tired.